What's up team, my name is Mark and welcome back to Making Instagram Bangers, the series where I teach you all the tips and tricks that I know about taking and editing photos. So today we're going to take a look at how you can edit these cool neon city lights, Blade Runner-like photos that you've been seeing on Instagram absolutely everywhere. We're going to look at how we went from this photo right here to this photo right here. As you can see, there's a lot more pink and teal going on there. It's somewhat futuristic. There's this cold sort of vibe going to it, and it's really super easy to do. It's a couple of adjustments in the hue, saturation, and luminance panels. It's pretty basic stuff, and it's one of those edits where you can really push the colors to the extreme in Lightroom, and it won't look overdone. So you can really have a lot of fun with these kind of edits. So anyway, without further ado, let's jump right into the edit. Let's go. Okay, so we're in Lightroom right now, and the first step is always going to be to scroll all the way to the bottom and remove chromatic aberration and enable profile correction. That way it's done and we get rid of all the warping that there was due to the lens. Now if we scroll back up, we can start looking at our exposure. So first step is always going to be to pull the highlights all the way down, and I usually would take the shadows all the way up on all the photos I edit. That way I can get a rough idea of how much dynamic range I've got and what I've got to work with. However, because this shot is taken at night and there are some very, very dark areas and there could be a lot of noise in the image, I'm not going to take it all the way up. So I'm going to leave it at somewhere around here, I think is nice. Next step, I'm going to hit the options key and bring the whites up just a little bit. There we go. And bring the blacks down somewhere around here. There we go. I want those nice dark blacks. Now I'm going to scroll down a little bit to the tone curve, add 3 dots. I'm just going to crush these blacks a little bit just to give it a little bit of a faded look. I'm going to do the same with the whites. There we go. And I'm going to push the clarity up. I really want this image to pop. There we go. Somewhere like plus 40. And maybe add just a tint of vibrance. There we go. Not too much. Okay, so I'm quite happy with the overall luminosity of this photo. Now, I do feel like it is too warm, and I really want to push it towards the cooler blue and pink sort of Blade Runner style. So I'm just going to take the temperature down somewhere around here. There we go, that looks quite nice. And maybe bring the tint up a little bit just so we're closer to those pinks. Okay, this is starting to look pretty good. Now, if we scroll down to the hue, saturation, and luminance panel, this is where we can really start pushing it to the extreme. So the way this panel works is it allows you to play with all the colors that are already in the photo, as opposed to the split toning panel, which allows you to add new colors to the photo. But we'll get to that later. So first off, let's go to the hue, saturation, and luminance panel. Okay, so I'm going to start playing with the hues. Now, I really want this to go towards a sort of red-pink, contrasting with strong blue look. So I'm going to take all of these top sliders, there we go, red, orange, yellow, move them all the way to the left. I'm going to do the opposite with the blues. I'm going to take the greens, move them all to the right. Same with the aquas, move them all the way in that direction. And now blues, I'm going to bring those towards a sort of a teal look, somewhere around here. There we go, that's really starting to pop against the red. That's really nice. Same with the purple, I'm going to bring those down. Let's have a look. Yep, let's bring those down closer towards the blue and teal. And the magentas, I'm going to bring those all the way up. There we go. So it's not often in photos that you can push these to the extreme, but because we're really going for a strong look, we're allowed to do this. It might not necessarily work as well during the daylight, but in these nighttime shots, you can really get away with doing stuff like that. Now the colors are quite strong, so I'm just going to scroll down to the saturation section of this panel and start playing with that. I'm going to bring the red down just a little bit because it's a bit too strong. Maybe boost the orange. There we go, get some orange in there. Let's pull the yellow down, and then the key really is just to play with these sliders until we're comfortable with the look that you've got. See how the aqua goes. There we go, pull that down just a little bit. I really want to give it a moody, faded, desaturated look. Now, previously it was a very strong image with all the pink, red, and blue, but I want to crush that just a little bit so it's subtle. It looks a little bit more realistic than if we'd kept it way too saturated. I'm just going to pull these blues up a little bit. There we go. Purples. See, with the purples, there's really not much going on. If I pulled either direction, there's not that much, but I'm still going to just put it down just a little bit. There we go. Same with the magentas. I really want to make sure that the strong reds up here and around this sign and all the blue down here really contrast with each other. And now down to the luminance. So luminance effectively is how much light there is in each color. So if I pull the reds all the way up, the reds are much brighter. If I pull them all the way down, they're really, really dark. So you can go either way with this kind of edit. I'm going to put it down just a little bit. I want this to be a moody shot. There we go. And I might just bump the blues up a little bit. I really want those blues to pop. There we go, something like that. That's quite nice. Okay, so we've done a lot of work to this photo right now, and the colors have changed drastically since we started. This is before, and this is after. Such a huge difference. It almost looks like this area is way too purple now at the bottom. This is crazy. So this photo's come a long way already. There we go. This is looking really nice. Okay, so now if we go down to split toning. So as I mentioned earlier, split toning adds colors to your photo. So what I want to try and do is add a bit of a reddish tint to the top. Let's see what we've got. Something like this. There we go. Let's add some red, and in the shadows I'm gonna add some blue just to add to the atmosphere and that vibe. There we go. Before and after. That might be a bit too strong. Let me pull saturation down on the pinks and the reds. There we go. Before and after. And as you can see, it's also added some tint to the sky, which I quite like. Now you can play around with this quite a bit. I might just push it a little bit more towards the reds. I don't want it to be too blue. There we go, something like that. I reckon that works really, really well. I'm super happy with that. Now, lastly, I'm going to scroll down to detail. Now, detail allows you to play with sharpness and noise in your image. Now, because it's quite a dark photo, there will be some noise in the shadows. If I zoom in here, you'll notice there's a lot of grain going on. So what I'm going to do is just pull the noise reduction up somewhere around 30, something like that. That's acceptable. Okay, so now for a little trick. So I'll do a full video breaking down how sharpening and noise reduction works in Lightroom. But in the meantime, if you just hold down the options key and then pull masking up, there we go. Basically what this does is it shows you what is being sharpened in the photo. Now, what is black isn't sharpened and what is white is being sharpened. Now, we don't want anything in the sky to be sharpened because it just has to be one color. There doesn't need to be anything there. And as a matter of fact, if you're sharpening the sky, you're adding noise. So by pulling up a little bit, we can make sure the sky isn't sharpened while still having a really sharp photo. If I zoom in and then take it off, put it back on again. There we go. The image is much sharper and we've got a lot less noise going on up here. A much cleaner photo. And there we go. This is looking really good. I'm super stoked with how this came out. Now, obviously the last step, of course, is always to crop. So I'm going to hit 4:5, which is the Instagram ratio. And I'm going to do something like this. There we go. Boom, look at that. I'm really happy with how this came out. Now you could play around a little bit more, maybe add some vignettes, something like that, or play around with the colors, but for all intents and purposes and for a quick edit, I'm really happy with how this came out. Look at that. And there you go, super easy trick to do. We went from this photo right here and turned it into this photo right here using just the default tools that we have in Lightroom. It's one of those really cool tricks because you can really go over the top with these night shots, because in a market or at night or out in the street, there's all these different really strong colors that are not natural, maybe purple, blue, greens, really strong oranges from lights and neons. So you can push them either way and they're really not gonna look that unnatural. And for this photo right here, we really pushed it into that sort of Blade Runner, purple and blue type look. I reckon this looks really, really nice. So that's it for the tutorial, guys. I hope you learned something new. I hope you found some of it useful. If you did, smash that like button and leave me a comment. Let me know what you want to see next. I'll be making a bunch more tutorials soon. And if you're new to the channel, my name is Mark. I'm a photographer and videographer, and I'll be teaching you all the stuff that I know. So make sure to subscribe and stay tuned. In the meantime, stay creative, guys. Take care.